everybody. How are we doing today? How are we doing tonight? Wherever you are in this great big world, hope you're doing alright. Today is Monday, April 29th, 2019, and this is a video response to my brother, Magickology, from the Black Tower, and his empire here on YouTube. He recently did a video on when Magick turns toxic. A few points in his video were kind of a direct hit for me, and I would like to put my dime on it and my experiences that I want to, express and share with you. So let's make a magical sandwich. The magical sandwich, as my brother calls it, consists of mundane action, magical assistance, and mundane action plus magical assistance. Honestly, this is common knowledge. This is common knowledge, and when I got into magic in 2010, all the spiritualists and all the practitioners of magic that I read and followed and listened to, they were always saying, you gotta put in the work with the spell. The spell's not gonna do it for you. You gotta put in that work. But at the same time, he explained it with, doing the mundane first, do it the proper way. And if that goes nowhere, then, going to the aid of magic to help you. And then, work with that spell. Like money. You do a money spell. Well, money's not going to come to you. You have to get out there and work. It helps you. Magic takes the path of least resistance. And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen. I mean, I've had experiences where, I didn't really do anything, and, my spell worked, and I got the money, so, but this is where the mentality of the younger generation, as well as a few adults, I hate to admit, get stuck at. They think, oh, I'm just going to do this spell and, my work be done. Yeah, it's a little sad that that's where people get stuck. Or they don't want to, do the work. They're crazy and lazy. And you can see this spread out all through the video, which will be in the description down below. And you can also check out the link to his channel, also down below. So, it's basically common knowledge, the magical sandwich. At least it should be. But, like I said, today's generation, most of them think they do a spell and, that's it. It's done. So, we go to number 2. Relying on magic, spirits, and gods way too much. When you rely on magic, you're not learning anything. You're not gaining anything. This is where, you got to put in the work. Like, oh my god, I need to, pass this test. So you do a spell to help you pass the test. But did you really learn anything? Or did you cast the spell and then study? But unfortunately, and I am guilty of this as well. Relying on magic too much doesn't help you in the long run. It doesn't solve your problems. It just gives you a temporary fix to the much larger problem at hand. And that goes with the same thing of relying on spirits and gods and demons and daemons. You call on them a lot. You bother them. You know, what are you really doing? You know, eventually they're going to stop talking to you. They're going to stop coming to you. They're going to stop working with you. They want to, as my brother said, they want you to succeed. They want to see you self-sufficient. You know? Learn to drive instead of having to rely on people to drive you. You know? If you learn to drive, you don't have to rely on anybody, and you can drive anywhere you damn well want. You succeeded in teaching yourself, and you're not relying on anybody. You're self-sufficient. You don't have to wait for anybody. You don't have to, you know, schedule around. Point number 3. Reckless and impulsive usage of magic. Does anybody remember that Simpsons episode where Homer joins the NRA? And he had an NRA meeting in his house, and he was opening beers, turning off lights, turning on the TV with his gun, you know, shooting at it. Well, put that with magic. You use magic improperly to gain the advantage, which I know some will disagree on, and that's okay. I believe in a fair fight, honestly. And or you use it to, and this is a big problem, or you use it to control another person, take away their free will. And those who've been on my channel know about the rapey love spell kid that I had to deal with. She wanted love spells to dominate her ex-best friend, to make her love her and be dominant over her. You know, that's an improper usage of magic. And then we got phrasing and intention. You know, saying, I want $1 million, and you do your spell. Okay. Now this is where path of least resistance comes in. Oh, it's going to get to you. You're going to get your $1 million. But at the cost of getting, I don't know, into a car accident, falling down the stairs and breaking your legs, you know, getting an inheritance from a relative that died. You know, these two kind of go together. That's why I say you need to write out until you get it right, the way you feel. And you want to make sure there's no loopholes whatsoever. You want to cover all your bases. Point 4. Substances, fasting, and crutches. Let's start with substances. Now, Magickology brought up the usage of drugs. basically. I'm not afraid to say it. He brought up the usage of drugs and how some people use it to enhance their magical abilities, their magical prowess, their connection to the ethereal. But if you rely on that way too much, it's taking over your ability to use your own energy, your own power. Now, I don't partake of anything myself personally, but I don't condemn others who do. If they want to do that, great. But I come from the line of thought of doing it yourself, using your own power, your own will, your own energy, your own intent. Because that makes you stronger. Let's do, again, I'm not judging anybody who does, but when you rely on it too much, you're letting it control, and that often leads you into like a stale plateau. You just reach that plateau and nothing gets accomplished. Let's do crutches first, or second. Now, this is repeated again, but when you use, substances, or in my case, I use my stones and crystals when I do magic sometimes. If you watched my spellbook ritual video, I recently said that, I use stones and crystals that help with my magical ability and my connection when it's something big that I need done. Especially on supermoons and eclipses, when I want maximum power. Like drugs, too much of it, becomes a crutch. Excuse me. Fasting. He brought up fasting. But another YouTube spiritualist that I watch, Taoist weather magician Lord Josh Allen at Lamat771. He recently made a video, a couple months back, I think, where he explained what had happened to him, because he had been gone for a while. And he was talking about where he was fasting too much when he was getting ready to do like a certain thing. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I watched his video. But basically, he was fasting for a dedication spell or something, or dedication ritual. And it ended up hurting him. So he went to, the hospital. He stayed until it got better. Then he went out, did the fast again, and ended up hurting him again. And then that's when he figured it out. So when it comes to fasting, just don't go in cold turkey, Ease your way into it. So you need to be careful when you fast. Slow and steady. number 5. Practice versus life. So, practice versus life. When you dedicate yourself to your path, you kind of got to be aware to know that this isn't your whole thing. You have mundane responsibilities, you have, obligations to handle. For some of the examples he brought up was work life and family. Now, I don't have that problem personally. Or at least where family's concerned. Yes, I'm involved very deeply in my spiritual path and my magical path, and I'm practically a broken record. But I do have other interests, like anime and manga and movies, music, and I do appreciate the time I have with my family, whether it be blood related or, people I call brothers and sisters. Now, my work life, not so much. Kind of neglected that, like, a lot. Oh, look over there. So, you want to keep a balance. Now, I released a video called Regression and Progression, which came out on the same day, I think, Magickology's video dropped, if I remember correctly. And this will go into number 6. But if you read the comments on my Let's Talk Regression and Progression, some friends, my brother from the Black Tower, and my other friend, Lady Witch, she and him both brought up that I need to take a breather. That I need to take a moment of zen, and just breathe. Just let everything go. Mundane, magical, whatever. And just breathe. Now this goes into point 6. Synchronicity, omens, and signs. Basically, when it comes to synchronicity, I'm not one of those who asks for omens, signs, or whatever. In fact, I'll be the first to tell you, I take signs and omens very seriously. I'm not somebody that goes around saying, oh, I need a sign. Wind blows, a leaf gets in my face. Oh my God, that's a sign, that's an omen. I'm not like that. When I see a sign, I have that feeling of energy. Like, I can feel the energy in the air. And that goes the same with omens. Like one time, a picture of someone fell behind a speaker. And a giant black house spider crawled over the picture. To me, that was an omen. Consisting with my spider demon. Since this person is heavily involved as well. that was an omen to me. Their picture fell behind a speaker, and a giant black spider that was hanging out behind there, crawled over it. Now, when it comes to synchronicity, I honestly don't know. I'm not dumb, but I'm not stupid either. Like, sometimes I realize things too late. And more or less, when it comes to synchronicity, it'll happen when I'm thinking of something. Like one time, my brother at the Black Tower, he released a video on Pazuzu right after I just got done spending the weekend writing 3 articles on Pazuzu. And then he goes and makes a video on Pazuzu. I'm like, wow, are you fucking kidding me? That's some motherfucking synchronicity. And there's been others where, more or less, but that's one of the greatest prime examples. So, and I don't really look for synchronicities either, but it usually happens when I think of something or I'm working on something, and then poof, someone comes up with, their own point of view on it, and, it's like, wow, we're synchro buddies. Point 7. Magical failure and blaming others. Ooh. Well, where to begin on that one? Well, when he brought up, magical failure, and, we do a spell and it doesn't work out, we can blame other people for interfering, or just, saying, it didn't work, I give up, And you really shouldn't do that. So it failed. If you're lucky, nothing bad's gonna fall back on you. If you're lucky. Unlike me, I'm stuck with a shadow demon spider from another dimension, and yeah. And that's been the bane of my existence since 2011. But, and there was a time where I quit, practicing. But I still studied. And I still went into other areas of spirituality and magic. I did like low-level stuff. But I didn't get back on it till, I had a personal gnosis. I let that one backfire keep me down. And then, I had to get back on that horse. Almost similar to when I got into a car accident in 2011. I got into an accident. And once the initial shock of everything wore off, I had this innate fear of driving. I looked at the rental car. I looked at it and I'm like, oh man, I can't drive. I cannot drive. But then my mom was like, Billy, I need you. And I'm like, okay. And I did it. And then the night before Christmas Eve, I spent a day with my friend, and I drove to my friend's house, and I was paranoid as fuck. And then I made the trip out to Greenfield, Indiana for something later that night to pick up a last-minute Christmas gift. I almost got into another wreck, but my Mad Max driving defensive capabilities kicked in, and I, swerved and dodged this drunken idiot. And then when I got home, my fear of driving went away. And which is funny because he brings up, driving in his video. You can't really let that get you down. And I recommend that if you have a spell backfire, make sure you have the proper precautions in place to banish, exorcise, cleanse. Make sure you have the proper protection if you work with spirits and demons and daemons and something goes wrong, And if you do a spell and nothing happens, don't get discouraged, don't quit. Go back to phrasing an intention. Basically learn to get it right. Work on it. See how all this goes into the sandwich? Point 8. Back to crutches, but this time magical crutches. Now, magical crutches. When you rely on magic too much, once again, we go with the money spell. When you do the money spell, you get what you want. Cool. But that's not enough. You want more. Or you're out with your homeboys and homegirls, and you're like, oh man, that's awesome, I gotta have that. And you do magic to get more money to get that. And then the next week, you see something even better. You want that, And you're just doing all these money spells, instead of, putting in that effort to do the work yourself, Basically, there's a difference between being given something and then being rewarded with, the pleasure of knowing that you did it yourself. Because that money has to come from somewhere else, doesn't it? Magic takes the path of least resistance. This is a common fact. It goes from point A to point B to point C, which is you. So when you do a money spell, somebody gets robbed, or somebody drops their wallet, or somebody drops a $20 bill, somebody gets into an accident. That money has to come from somewhere. and it makes its way to you. You gain, but somebody else loses. And just doing that crutch, you don't learn anything. You become stagnant, you become stale, you become that plateau. And then, next thing you know, as it happened to me, you're getting what you're asking for, but not in the ways you would think. Now, I've called upon Ziku so many times. So many times. And yeah, the first couple of times, I didn't have to do anything. I didn't do anything. It just, But then after a while, when I kept relying on him, it eventually turned into dribs and drabs. And then it turned into dribs and drabs along with the item that I was going to use that money for, like a new tire. See, they listen, but when you bother them too much, or you rely on them, that magic's going to turn into eventual, straight up what you're asking for, or what you were going to use it for. And that's just my personal experience, This varies. Then he talked about egos and titles. Well, he talked about the ego, but one of the things in the community that's really gotten out of hand is this I'm better than you. This I'm a high priest or priestess and, my word is law. Do as I say, practice as I say. And, get the fuck out of here. There was a couple on Facebook. They were married and they were considered high priest and high priestess. And they act like their word was the law. And a new person came in and be like, "Hi, I'm new to magic. What can I do?" And then they both just went off on this person, telling her, don't do anything. Just don't do it. Listen to us. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then you got people who think having a fancy title is the end-all be-all. Wrong. Unless you're the president, the prime minister, the queen, the king, the emperor, the empress, a sir that was knighted. Your titles don't mean jack shit to me. It's just a fancy title that doesn't mean a goddamn thing to me. Your poop doesn't stink any more than mine. Just saying. And if you think yours is special, you need to park your ego at the door. Just saying. And that's really what's killing the community. And I've talked about this a lot. And as you all know, recent drama and all that takes us into point number 9, cursing and hexing. Well, from what I've seen, there's a rising imbalance of cursing and hexing going on. You know, and they throw that damn law of 3. You know, I don't follow that. You know, they think everybody follows that. And their misconception of karma. You know, they throw that at people that are pro-curses and pro-hexing like me. You know. And then you got those that are pro-curses and pro-hexes, but we have, or at least I do, I don't know about y'all, but me, myself, and I have a system of how I do things. I have a command structure. It's similar to the sandwich. If I can't work it out peacefully, which is always going to be number 1, work it out peacefully. And if I can't do that, I'll take it up with the law. And if the law fails, then it's time to do magic. Now, I understand that I could use magic to help influence the law, but revert to my Witches and Stitches videos, or Witches and Snitches videos, for my opinions on that. But, like, there's just some things where you gotta cut the bullshit and go right to it. And like I said in my Necronomicon demo video, where I went through a spellbook ritual, some things are unforgivable. And just recently dealing with a moron who let his Bush beer and his Copenhagen tobacco chew go to his fucking head, calling me and a few other people fake, and our magic fake. Like, really? Okay. If that's what you want to believe. Yours didn't work out too well either, now did it? And this is a situation this person could walk away from. But no, this person has to be the instigator. He kept provoking. And on my end, I do apologize for giving in, but just going into that drastic route that this idiot, you know, oh, he's threatening me with magic, ooh, calling me fake, ooh, okay, that's the way he wants to, you know, that's the way he wants to be, okay, I'm still gonna be fly and living a good life, you know, I'm gonna be doing my thing, I'm gonna be taking care of my business, let the baby have his bottle, fuck. But I'm getting off topic there, and I'm getting into a section that I don't need to be getting into. So we're going to go over here now. But just going straight into cursing and hexing somebody, no, you shouldn't do that. And I agree with them on that. My brother, that is, you know. But there are those times where you do need to cut the bullshit and get right to it. And that's all I'm going to say on that one. And then finally, number 10. Basically, studying versus doing. Knowledge over practicing. Now, I've met a couple of people who don't do magic. They learn, they read and retain knowledge. But at the same time, I find myself asking, okay, you have this knowledge, what are you going to do with it? If you're not going to be putting it to use, what are you going to do with it? Now, I kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, because that goes into that whole ideology of having something and not needing it, as opposed to needing it when you don't have it. I really don't want to say a gun, but my gun's a perfect example, so don't hold that against me. Having the gun, and not using it, but on the off chance that, there might be a time where you do need it, as opposed to, running that risk of not having it when you need it, when a certain situation happens. But like I said, don't hold that against me. That's just the perfect example. So I kind of give the benefit of the doubt there. So, but other than that, yeah, it's fun to study and learn, sure. But outside of that, what are you doing? Not that I'm one to judge. I'm not judging anybody. If you do that, that's cool. Like I said, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you have this ability, this knowledge to perform in case you need it. I'm going to give you that benefit of the doubt. But honestly, if you just read and you learn about it and do nothing with it, not even use it when you need it, it just seems like it's just wasted opportunity. That's something you could be learning to help you in other things, But all in all, I would say find a perfect balance of, study and practice. Personally, I find practicing very helpful, because that's the only way we learn, is just getting in there and doing it. But at the same time, I say it is imperative that you study. Take the time to learn. Pronunciations if you're working with a different language, like the Necronomicon. Or if you're learning another culture's magic and stuff, take the time to learn how to pronunciate. Take the time to learn. And then go into practice. Don't just go in there, because that's how you get 0.7 and Point 3. Because being reckless and all that, that's a good way to get, spell backfire on you. It's a good way to, be stuck with something that just won't go away. So with that was my response, and hopefully I made some sort of sense in this word salad. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or you would like to put out your own 2 cents in this, hit that comment section down below. If you'd like to come kick it with me, you can find my social media links in the description. And be sure to hit that little bell icon to stay informed. Feel free to subscribe. And I love you all. Again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Bye.